Wow, Monday, or I always say Monday, Wednesday, whatever day it is. We had a Wednesday with no red folder news today, and it kind of explains the delivery we had. But man, while I was watching this live, I was confused. I was all over this day, and I didn't really see it that clear. But then when I looked back over and went hindsight in the charts, that's when I was able to really understand the delivery of today, which like really cleared it up. I will say, if you don't look into your charts hindsight, are you really ever gonna learn if you don't like go into your charts and look at hindsight? That's really why I really like doing these, because you're able to really learn like what price really did, and like there's no reason to be mad at yourself for getting something wrong or not being right about something, or you missed a possible opportunity because you didn't see it. Okay, now you can learn from that. Now you have it in your journal, and now you can grow from it. That's what it's all about. What's good, Jay? How you doing, brother? Let's get straight into it though. But basically, we end up having Asia London. We sold off. Then we stopped on a dime right here at this level right here. This order block opening. The reason why we stopped here was because of ES, which I'll point out. And then we end up coming up, taking out all these trailed stops, repricing where to this fair value gap in here into constant encroachment of this wick, and then we end up selling off throughout the rest of the day. And yeah, it was very, looking back, I had like an eye-opening experience, not gonna lie. But basically, I have a bunch of annotations on here. I'm kind of scared. I'm kind of scared when I open my charts. But basically, yeah. So I'll undo the annotations. Yeah, those are kind of a lot. But basically, here, let me do the set. Let me do sessions indicator first. So Asia puts in the high a day, and then London we expand lower. We continue, and by the time we get to New York AM, we end up having a bit of a reversal to attack these buy stops. It makes sense. Most of the time, if we reach a higher time frame key level, like we did here, we took sell side resting here. And as well as that, the key level that caused this is consequent encroachment of this wick. Consequent encroachment of this wick right here is the level that we bounced off, and I'll bring it up when we do the model. But basically, it's you can expect to see some form of run on stops, especially if we have something like this. A lot of people have made money without this move. A lot of people are going to look in and try to short this. So therefore, that's why this move ends up happening. How did the Top Step account go? I mean, all that I posted has been all that I've traded on it. I've posted every single trade, but I basically just kind of have stopped trading and just kind of just focused on my education and my growth as a trader, because that's what really matters, rather than focusing on like trying to get funded or like trying to get an account. So that's kind of what I'm really focusing on. I have stopped trading, which I'm just focusing on improvement, and some people are probably not going to agree with that. But I really think that you lose nothing by tape rating. You lose absolutely nothing. And who knows, it might not be the best decision I make, but well, you'll never know. You'll never know. All right, and then let's hop into these annotations that I have on my chart. Basically, we have Asia, London, low resistance liquidity gets generated, and then we come into a key level, constant encroachment of this wick, and then we get a change in state of delivery right here with that fair value gap at a certain time of the day. This happens at 9:30. This qualifies for a New York AM reversal. We also have SMT at these lows here. We get displacement higher, and then we end up having SMT right here at this order block open. And notice this order block, how it doesn't have any wick. It's gonna be very sensitive right there. The juicier the candle is, the bigger the body. What I found out is that tends to react very nicely. That's where price goes. Offers fair value to the tick with SMT within this fair value gap at a certain time of the day. This was gorgeous. And then we end up attacking these buy stops, run on these stops, and where do we end up going? where do we end up going after that? Straight to this 4-hour fair value gap. Constant encroachment of this level is what I have marked out. We're like a tick away from that or whatever. And then once we get there, we head back lower to sell side, accumulate more within this fair value gap, then head back up to buy side, accumulate within this range, and then we sell off for the rest of the day. All right, so that's kind of ES's delivery. We'll go over to NQ because that's the one I mainly trade and I mainly focus on. But other than that, I think that ES was very much nicer with this delivery here. We have this consecration of the daily wick is what really inspired this. And we have SMT displacement at a certain time, pullback, SMT off this order block. That is beautiful. That is to the tick. NQ, however, is a little bit different. We end up coming into this order block range here. These order block candles is going to be sensitive because there's narrative around it, you know. 9 a.m. starts that 9 a.m. move, and then we get displacement higher. These two candles hold some significance because they create a fair value gap, they create displacement, and also this engages this PD array. Although it doesn't look like we trade into this, we have SMT, so I'm counting that as an engagement. We also engage this order block, so this is technically a propulsion block. So we end up coming back or manipulating at that level at market open, end up having displacement higher. SMT gets formed here with these candles. We don't quite trade back in this fair value, order block. Where do we trade into this breaker right here, high, low, higher, high, right into that breaker, displacement higher, pull back, fair value gap, SMT confirmed here, silver bullet, and then we take buy side here, and then we go straight to this gap here, and where look, new week opening gap gets respected perfectly throughout this whole day. This is the last new week opening gap, and this right here is a previous new day opening gap. And the reason why I still have this on my chart, I probably would have normally got rid of it, but we're still have been trading within this range. Been offering fair value. Look. Come back. And look at how well this new day opening gap got respected today. Like algorithmically, we are trading within this new day opening gap, with the exception to reprice to this new week opening gap. Then we come in, we have this 15-minute fair value gap that still could get used, and look at how perfectly this new week opening gap, or this fair value gap, is like right above that new week opening gap. That's what we end up tapping into. We also have consequent encroachment of this 1 hour wick right here that we end up putting the high of the day, high of the AM session at. And then we end up accumulating and then selling off lower. Admittedly, I was live for the PM session day, and I thought the PM session was very tricky. We'll go into that in a second. But basically, I was expecting some form of continuation to buy side to this low resistance liquidity. But the reason why we end up really selling off here is because of ES. If you look at ES is clearly within the sell program. What is this? IRL to ERL. This is probably a 1 hour gap, I believe. Yeah, you have this 1 hour gap right here. IRL to ERL. This is your market maker model. Ends up panning out. And then this is your last entry point right here. You have this fair value gap combined with this old low. Is that, let's see, is that actually a breaker? What type of breaker does that become? This previous, that should be a mitigation, but we end up tapping that and then selling off. So that's why we were bearish, and also why I'm not gonna pull up YM, but YM is super bearish right now. Super bearish. All right, so let's drop down the 1 minute and let's see. We end up having displacement higher, pull back to this 1 minute breaker. Oh, we didn't actually come back to that 1 minute breaker. We had SMT here. We pull back to this 5 minute breaker right here. We pull back to that. Notice how we have these shallow raids within this PD array. We end up taking that and then displacing higher in that fair value gap. Notice that this is at 9:45. I kind of elect to wait now until 10 a.m. I want to see 10 a.m. What do we get? We get 950 displacement. We get that 950 macro. And that macro comes back down. We offer fair value within this breaker. This could have been an entry. Then we get confirmed with SMT within this fair value gap. That could have been another entry. You also have another confluence of the standard deviation projection. -1 to 1.5. You're waiting for that. You're looking for that. Boom. We end up coming up. And then buy side gets met here. Right here. And we come into new day opening gap. -2.5. Standard deviation is met. So now we're waiting to see what price does here. We're in a new week opening gap. We are within this 15-minute fair value gap. And we also have constant encroachment of that 1 hour wick. Accumulation. And then we have a fair value gap. I wouldn't look to really enter this, but this could be a possible entry here. Fair value gap here within this 1050 macro to where you could look for us to rebalance to this. Then look at how well we accumulate within this new day opening gap. I'm gonna grade this real quick just to show these levels. Real quick. I'm gonna use this. Accumulate at 0.25, 0.25. 0.25. Tap the low, tap the low, tap the low, come back up, tap the high. And then we end up just consolidating during lunch. During lunch, I'm not really looking to touch it. But we did end up having some form of buy model here. We had sell side rated here. We have this 1 minute fair value gap that we're keying off of. I do actually want to grade this. I want to see, was this 25% that we were? Yeah, 25% of this fair value gap gets held nicely. We get displacement higher. I wouldn't really look to trade this just because lunch hour, and I don't really like trading lunch hour. Then I remember from the live stream, this is your SMT here. It's your silver bullet. We end up coming up. Just a buy side here. And where to as well. New week opening gap. I think did I? Yeah, the other level got. Here, I can pull this up. Or I guess I can't. Where'd my indicator go? It's whatever. Basically, my new day opening gap got ruined. I'll put it on later. But basically, we're holding these levels very nicely. And then we get displacement here. And during the live stream, I thought that we were going to get a buy model. I thought this was going to be a buy model. I thought we were going to finish this buy model. But if we look at this, it does make sense. It does make sense. We end up having overlapping SMTs. We end up having trading state delivery on the 1 minute. After rating lunch liquidity, lunch lows, we have low resistance liquidity above us. ES has actually left equal highs. So this short here, I don't like this level is way too clean. This level will get revisited at some point. So basically, we have equal highs, low resistance liquidity, this is gonna get revisited at some point. No matter when. Basically, we have displacement, and then we come back up to this fair value gap, aligned with that new day opening gap high, and look at this. Like where we accumulate. If we pull up this grade, the bodies are respecting 0.5, and look at the wicks. Look at the wicks. You have a little bit outside of that, but other than that, that gets respected perfectly. I did think at the time that this was going to be a buy model, though. I did think that this was going to be. You have your breaker here. You have a volume balance here. I was expecting us to come up to buy side. That wasn't the case because ES was repricing to this 4-hour fair value gap, and ES was in the sell model. So that's why it happened. And then we end up getting this new day opening gap, new day opening gap high again, as well as this is also consequent encroachment of that gap. Perfectly. Displacement lower, pull back, fair value gap, boom. Sell side taken here. This is that 345 macro. We're failing to go higher, and then we just end up displacing lower. So that's kind of today's action. And looking back, it makes perfect sense, and it does make sense. And I'm gonna go ahead and remove these annotations, and we'll go over bias going to the upcoming days. Basically, I am going to leave this new day opening gap on my chart. I feel like it might have some relevance, but notice how it was previous Wednesday's gap. So we have traded 5 days. So it might not have much significance, but I am still going to have it on my chart. If we look at this, we've now displaced lower. This is looking like we could have this as our manipulation leg. Low resistance liquidity. I could see us heading lower to here, to sell side here. Reprice back to this new week opening gap here. That's what I'm looking for. We've now kind of closed. We have displacement lower. I'm going to start to be a little bit bearish. Constant mean threshold of this daily order block failed as well. In the morning, I forgot to bring that up. In the morning, that's what this level is. I think. Or maybe I had it wrong. But basically, this level is mean threshold of that order block. And we're starting to displace below that. We're starting to disrespect it. What I don't like to be bearish here is all these equal highs. This looks way too clean. This will get revisited at some point, but the matter is when. Overall, I think that we will possibly head to sell side. Or, if we don't head to sell side, we're going to bounce off this fair value gap. That's what I think. If we displace through this, we're going to here, no doubt. If this holds, the S&T between NQ and ES is probably going to hold, and we're going to get a nice market maker model. So, a lot of my bias is depicted off of this 1 hour fair value gap. I want to see if this is going to hold. Alright, with that being said, let's look at YM just because you got to know. YM is super bearish. We're disrespecting all of these inefficiencies. We are failing to give any of these any attention. I was expecting us to cause a reaction off of this 4 hour fair value gap and this daily order block price, but obviously that's not the case. We now have displacement lower. This could be the S&T at the highs here to where we get another push lower. Obviously, YM's really leading, and look at the divergence between YM and NQ. Yeah, a very big divergence there. So, gotta be a little bit cautious. Overall, I'm expecting bearish prices, unless that 1 hour fair value gap holds, like I said. But I'm gonna be a little bit more bearish than bullish. This looks like a nice IRL to ERL here, but I'm placing a lot of emphasis on this fair value gap there. All right, let's look at DXY. DXY has taken these highs here, so, and we are within this 4 hour fair value gap, so this is an area to where we could see some retracement. which would be higher prices on dollar or higher prices on indices. But this is starting to look like we could work our way back up to these highs up here. This is now your change in state delivery here. We're expecting these levels down here. I did think that this was a little bit tougher read. But overall, I'm not really going to analyze dollar too much or overanalyze it just because it's hard for me to read what it wants to do, so I'm not going to overanalyze it. This month, not much action. I think this month has been pretty clean, honestly. Thoughts on GME? I don't indulge in that type of stuff. I don't think that stuff is repeatable. I don't think that stuff is repeatable and is going to repeat. So therefore, I think it's gambling. That's just my thoughts. Like, ideally, I'm coming to the market and finding something that repeats. GameStop doesn't repeat. That's all an illusion. Basically, on Bitcoin, I'm expecting to see this market maker buy model play out. Weekly internal to weekly external. We've had accumulation, and I'm expecting the silver bullet to play out here. Here we're now taking this low here. We've now gotten change in steady delivery here. I know I said that I was looking for what inversion was I looking for. I said that an inversion was likely going to hold. If it was this one, I don't like that narrative. But I do like how we have come back down here, taking this low here. So I would expect higher prices on this, but I don't trade it, so I'm not going to look for it. EU and GU, we have SMT at the highs. Starting to get displacement lower. We could be rebalancing to this fair value gap. It's kind of what I'm looking for. All this is balanced, no inefficiency until here. That's what I could be looking for on the weekly candle, but other than that, we do have this weekly fair value gap that I'm expecting to see us possibly retrace back into. Yeah, and that's pretty much all I got. That's just my little analysis and my thoughts on today's price action. I thought today's PA was a little bit tricky, but going back into it, it does make sense. You have that buy model attack on stops because we have Asia, London just melted. So therefore, we can anticipate some form of retracement. We get retracement at a daily level on ES, daily constant encroachment of that wick. That ends up happening. We take up stops in a balance, and then we get displacement lower. Are we selling off right here? Are we selling off right here? We're about to reach in that 1 hour fair value gap. I blew my account, bro, after doing so well in the past weeks. It's gone. My mental space is messed up right now. You know what I would recommend? This is just my recommendation is just honestly like take a month off. Just take a month off, and literally like don't place a single trade. Because I think what you're doing is you're placing too much emphasis on the outcome of your trade, and I did that a lot. So that's why I stopped. That's why I stopped live trading. That's why That's why I'm tape reading, because I need to get my mental right, because my mental isn't the best, but I know my mental is going to be better when my technical analysis is better. Because like when you start out as a trader, your mental game is just so vulnerable because you're not going to be good. You're not going to be able to read price action well, so therefore you're going to make a lot more mistakes, so therefore you're more likely to explode. It's low. Is that better? What's good, Justine? Justin? Sorry. Yeah, but basically that's all I got for today. I'll be back tomorrow for live. I'll probably be live tomorrow. If I'm not, it'll be because I probably don't like the action that we're within. But basically, this is looking like we could have a possible Thursday reversal. But I'm not going to bet the farm on it. I want to see, we just had a bigger move within the market. So I'm expecting to see small ranges. Maybe have manipulation, distribution. That could happen. Alright, I'm going to head out of here.